Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. Of course, if you don't know me by now, my name is Jordan, one of the co-owners of Analog Stick Gaming, and to my right, as he most often is the founder himself, Jeff. How are you doing, Jeff?
Well, it's rainy. It's very windy. I took Banter out for a walk this morning. He stepped out the door and said, "Nope," and we went right back in. So,
Wow, wow. Well, over here, it's the complete opposite. If you live in the UK in this last week, you have literally been melting. It's so I don't
it,
know. Do you
it was
guys
like that.
do?
Yeah, it was like that. Like 2 days ago, or even yesterday for some of it. But then it just turned into like cold rain and wind and stuff.
So our weather has been so hot that it actually made me ill, which is why you'll notice I went quiet on you for a couple of days, Jeff, because
Mm.
I was just like I could not even get out of bed. It was, yeah, it's crazy. It's been crazy, but now in the next week we've got loads of rain coming up. So, so yeah, it's a
I think my
weird time
Xbox
of year.
was overheating. Um,
Oh,
I
oh,
think that's what was causing all the crashes in Bond, just because of the
okay.
heat. But yeah,
Fair, fair. Well, we will talk more about Bond later on, of course, because we have both played it, and at least based on your initial impression you gave me, we might have differing opinions to a certain degree. So it's going to be interesting to hear what you think now you finished it. But before that, we have some stuff to talk about, and of course, there was a very big wrestling match yesterday, which I think we would be doing a disservice to the quality of this match if we didn't talk about it. And it's technically WWE still because WWE
and it's
own AAA.
probably like one of the most anticipated matches this year. I don't think there'll be a bigger anticipated. Like they literally had a parade for this guy. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
like
true. That's true.
like the amount of celebration they've had around the El Grande Americano match. Which has been a long time coming. Just because like Chad Gable got injured, and then Ludwig Kaiser came in and kind of made that gimmick, I think, more popular than I think that they ever possibly could have imagined.
Yeah, definitely.
And the one little
I
injury
think
led to so many dominoes.
I think it's an interesting thing because let's take a minute to talk about the Chad Gable side of it. If Chad Gable hadn't have got injured, I think it still would have been a very successful character, but I don't think it would have become what it's become.
No,
And
he was always meant to be a heel with it.
yeah,
And like it's so weird because like it started that way even for Ludwig Kaiser, and then I think like once everybody knew that he was like taking the time to learn like Mexican, and like he ended up breaking things off with Tiffany Stratton and then dating this I can't remember her name, this new lady, and
yes,
who was his like essentially Spanish tutor, um you know and that like that even like that thing has played into the storyline extremely well,
absolutely.
with her
But I
pulling
mean,
the
it's got to the point
ticket.
where the what we'll call El Grande Americano, because he's not the original, but he is never going to come out of that mask again.
No,
Like,
he will, yeah, like that's going to be his gimmick for a very long time.
yeah,
Because like even though he's, not even remotely Mexican, um, he is the most popular Mexican in AAA right now, pretty
which
much.
is crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
absolutely crazy.
and the funny thing is even like Dunn and the other guy
Yeah.
are now going to be those characters,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know,
Completely.
and
Completely.
those will probably be like the biggest characters that they'll play.
And what I liked was everybody played a role in this match, right? So it was just it, but it never felt chaotic to me. Like it actually felt really cleverly done. And you mentioned something before we started recording that you almost had like you had the princess aspect of it as well. With
Yeah, like the girl coming out and cheering the hero on and all that kind of stuff. And she pulls
yeah,
the solo Sokoa thing of like, no, I got tickets, I can be here.
yeah,
And it was so funny because like I hadn't followed some of the minutia around it, so I didn't know the who Pimpy was or anything like that. And
yeah,
Becky was going, "Come on, Pimpy, let's go!" And sitting here, I'm thinking she's just grabbed a Mexican word and is just latching onto it, but it turned out to be an actual person. So that was really funny.
that is funny. That is
But
hilarious.
no, honestly, I think the next thing that Ludwig Kaiser will do, as he won the match, I think the next thing is him to take on Dom.
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's where they have to go with it now, right?
Yeah.
And I'll even go as far to say of he has to win that belt. Like
Mhm.
he's the most over character that they currently have in the entire promotion. And you know, credit to him. He's done a brilliant job. He's done a
Yeah.
really, really good job.
And
I
they
am interested to see what this now means for Chad Gable because he'll probably come away from AAA now, obviously.
oh yeah,
But
he'll I think they were advertising him for the June 1st episode of Raw, which is why everyone was like, "Oh, well, that's how that match is going to go." Um
yeah,
the only thing that I don't like about Chad Gable coming back to WWE is he's just going to be teaming up with the American stable, which I just
yeah,
don't care for. I wish
yeah,
that those guys would have been let go instead of Motor City Machine Guns or
yeah, yeah. I
Kyrie,
know what you mean. I know
you
what
know,
you mean.
like
And
because
also,
like
I
those,
think that
yeah.
what frustrates me about it is that Chad Gable, before he got injured, especially, has proven that he has the talent to be on his own. He doesn't need to be part of this group. Like he is a very very talented in-ring performer who clearly has chemistry, knows how to do the comedy stuff as well. Uh, Like they just need to give him, just give him something to work with. He made this El Grande Americano thing work. And let's be honest, Ludwig's amazing, but you couldn't have done this as a one-sided story. It required both of them to really pull off what they've pulled off, right? And as you said, this is arguably, at least in recent memory, this is one of the most anticipated matches ever. Like, and probably the most anticipated match this year. I
Hmm.
don't think anything will reach this level of anticipation in the next year or so. And it's like, that's because they're just both incredibly talented. And credit to them as well. What I really liked was they managed to do the thing where in AAA, Ludwig's El Grande was the hero, but he was the bad guy whenever they showed up in WWE. And yet that
To a
made
certain extent, yeah.
sense. And yet that made sense, and they did it in a way that it made sense. And
And
it's, yeah.
yeah, that match was also way bloodier than I thought it was going to be. Like
Yeah.
they ripped their masks off, you could see them like gushing and stuff. And then like Chad Gable had his family in the ring, and I swear to God, his kid is going to be like just fucked up because like he's standing there, his dad like is just blood
Yeah.
dripping
Yeah.
down his face, just gushing. Like no one got him a towel at all to wipe the blood away. He's just bleeding. And like he
Yeah.
high fives his daughter, and his daughter has blood on her hands, and she grabs it and puts it on her brother's shoulder. Like, and it's so funny
Yeah.
because it pans back and it shows him coming to the ring and this little kid standing on the ring, and I'm like, what? And then these people come in and it's his family and stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think for these two guys, and it's funny to say because they've been in WWE, they've been part of WrestleMania and things like that. and yet this is probably the biggest match of their entire careers. Like,
Yeah, and I wonder if it's the first like triple A PLE or whatever they want to call it, where two non-Mexican white people essentially main evented.
I believe that might be the
Like
case. Yeah, I would have to
maybe.
do some research, but I would be shocked if that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Because being a Mexican promotion, they've clearly focused on Mexican talent over the years. But yeah, man, like credit to both these guys because put it this way, for the people who are wrestling fans that tune into the online discourse and things, you would have heard the name Dave Meltzer. And although I don't really subscribe to Dave Meltzer's opinions a lot of the time because I think he's a very biased person, the fact that he's biased and even he was coming out saying that, like, yeah, this is probably match of the year so far across all of wrestling, sort of tells you how good this
Yeah,
match
and
was.
I like how like Grande Americano's been mostly wearing darker colors, and Chad Gable has been still wearing the lighter ones. But when they did the final match here, it was Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker, pretty much. Like
Yes.
they matched the colors there, so that was really good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, really
yeah,
good.
it was a fantastic match.
And I'll go to the point of if you haven't seen this match, it's literally, at least here in the UK, it's available on YouTube. So
Yeah,
just go
same.
and watch it. Like it's it's a hell of a time if you're a wrestling fan, even if you haven't watched AAA recently or been keeping up with this story,
Well, they have a
go and
good like
watch this match.
comic book sequence that predates the match. That
Yes.
is, as long as it's not AI, it was extremely well done. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for
they've been
sure.
they've been doing a bunch of AI stuff in WWE that's been,
Oh
especially
God,
like
yeah.
all the Chad Gable stuff has been AI, like all that stuff. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But now I think we probably should get into gaming because there has been quite a lot of news this week. But we also, of course, as you would have seen from the title of this episode and I assume the thumbnail, our main topic this week is going to be our Summer Game Fest and Xbox Showcase predictions because that is coming up very, very soon within the next week. So yeah, but before we get to gaming, of course, Jeff, I believe we want to have a word from our sponsors, and we will. The Vitcher link is coming. There's been an issue with it on their end, but we will get that very, very soon. So bear with me on that one. But Jeff, why don't we have a word from our friends over there?
yeah, so we've got a few sponsors today. So we got NordVPN, we got Vitcher. So we'll start with NordVPN, move to Vitcher. So we've got right now a new deal going on through NordVPN where you get 75% off plus 3 months extra. And that's the best and fastest VPN on the market, a stable and encrypted internet connection, and your all-in-one digital security app. And that it basically runs from about $3.79 Canadian per month, as well as a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you keep that subscription going, that's where we see some money. So definitely, if you want to support analytic gaming, you can do it that way. The Vitcher glasses as well too. You can check out the review that we have on the website, but we got to look at the Beast XR glasses. And these things are exactly what they say they are. They are a beast. If you want to take gaming on the go and have basically up to 174-inch screen OLED in front of you at all times, if you're on a work break, if you're on a train or a plane, you can take these glasses with you anywhere. And there's a ton of accessories that you can get to make it that little bit easier for you. The glasses are just fantastic. We've had a chance to both check them out, and
Yeah.
honestly, like they have a better screen and bigger screen, even at their smallest size, than the TV that I'm gaming on. So I played a bunch of stuff on it recently. I played like Forza, I played some Marvel Rivals, I played some Bond. I've been taking them to work as well too to play my Switch
Nice,
on a big,
nice.
70-inch TV, pretty much. And yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. And once we have the link going on there, you can purchase some glasses and help support Analog Stick Gaming as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is coming soon. As I said, the link, there's been an issue with it on their end because I think they currently actually have quite a few people that are starting to figure out that this is a really great device and wanting to be part of supporting that. So that is coming soon, but make sure you check out our review in the meantime because as Jeff said, these glasses are brilliant. So make sure you go and check that out. And yeah, just keep an eye for the links below. As soon as we have them, we will put them there for you. And now, Jeff, I think we should get to some gaming news. So, where do we want to start today?
Let's start with kind of the big one here once this pop-up decides to go away. Fable has been delayed until February 2027, Microsoft has announced. In a special post from the official Xbox account, the company said that it had made the decision so that Fable can have the most dedicated moment it deserves, which is likely in reference to GTA 6's launch later this year. This is a year packed with incredible games for Xbox players to enjoy, from Halo Combat Evolved, Gears of War E-Day, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 to Control Resonant, Star Wars Galactic Racer, and Grand Theft Auto 4. Grand Theft Auto 6, it wrote. In order to plan our game launches throughout the holiday in a way that works best for players, we're moving Fable to February of 2027 so that it can have the dedicated moment it deserves. We're excited to be giving players a major new look at Fable, as well as our broader lineup at the Xbox Showcase on June 7th. So yeah, like this is, people obviously are upset that Fable is being delayed again, and I don't think
Yeah,
anybody really likes delays and stuff, but
I
it's a smart one,
hmm,
especially with what we have going on, because we have Halo Combat Evolved in the next 2 months. The next AAA wrestling event is in September, is sponsored by Gears of War E-Day, so there's a look at its release date there.
yeah.
So
And obviously, we'll get on to Modern Warfare 4 in very shortly. But I think I want to put things in perspective a little bit with this news story because I've seen some hyperbolic stuff coming out of this. It's like the impression I get, and I don't know if you feel the same, Jeff, but the impression I get is this delay is just very simply them saying we're not going to release this game next to GTA 6 because that would be suicide. And we have enough other stuff coming in the rest of this year that it makes sense to just move it to a time when it might have a little bit more freedom to capture people's imagination and really give time to the game for people to sink their teeth into it, right? So I think that this if there has ever been a delay that is literally just because of release timetabling, I think this is one of those delays. I think
yeah,
it's as simple as that, really. I don't
and
think it.
the funny thing is, like, when you take a look at delays, there's such criticism and such, actually not criticism, there's such what is it, hypocritical thinking when it
Yes.
goes to specific games. So like when Titanfall 2 came out, everyone said, "Oh, you should have just delayed it because of Call of Duty and Battlefield. Like you basically destroyed that
Yeah.
game. You should have just delayed it." You
Yes.
know. Um and so like again with like Fable and stuff like that, if you put Fable at that release date and it didn't do well, people are like, "Oh, you should just delayed it out of Grand Theft
Yeah.
Auto's
In
path."
hindsight, people always say different, right? And that's the thing. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand it. When you're looking forward to a game, like for some people, Fable might be their most anticipated game right now. And it will be disappointing for that to be delayed.
Hmm.
But in reality, this is a 3 month delay at the most because this game wasn't coming before November. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the original plan for this game was to release in November and they were possibly hoping that GTA wouldn't make it. But we, of course, now know that GTA 6, at least based on Take Two's recent earnings call from like last week, they've said, yeah, it's definitely making that November release date. So it doesn't shock me. And I also, quite frankly, I don't think this is the only game that would have been delayed out of that window. I
No.
think there are games that we don't even realize were probably scheduled to come out around that time that will now come out earlier in 2027, or maybe a couple of them will sneak into December. But even that, I think, is a little bit of a risk because December games historically never do quite as well because of all the big releases that come in just a couple of months before that.
Mhm.
So and you know, we'll see what happens. But talking of big releases, one that is coming out from Microsoft and their studios themselves is of course Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. So what news do we have on that, Jeff?
Yeah, so this year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 will be the first entry in the modern series to skip the PS4 and Xbox One, releasing only on current gen hardware. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 launches globally on October 23rd for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Switch 2. Announced today, when the article was posted via an Activision live stream, developer Infinity Ward confirmed that its new gritty and authentic Call of Duty will be set in Korea and will also release on Nintendo Switch 2 for the first time. Modern Warfare 4 has three main modes as ever: campaign, multiplayer, and DMZ. The game is described as a new technical benchmark for the franchise, built exclusively for the latest generation consoles and PC. While Modern Warfare 4's new agile parkour mechanics and completely redesigned hipfire suggest welcome changes to the series, its campaign story premise courts controversy. Set in a modern day South Korea, the newly appointed fictional regime leader of North Korea has invaded South Korea, plunging the peninsula into a deadly conflict. As a Korean journalist suggested to VGC contributor Tom Regan for The Guardian, this narrative depicting all out war across Korea may prove divisive in the region. A full scale invasion erupts in a new theater of war on the Korean peninsula, igniting a rapidly escalating crisis unlike anything the franchise has tackled before, reads the synopsis for the game. Um, in the high stakes and unprecedented scale, ripped from the headlines narrative, a volatile mix of political tension, shadowy operations, and outside interference pushes the war towards the world towards the brink of war. Private Park, a young Korean grunt soldier, is thrust into combat for the first time as he and his squad are forced to overcome impossible odds in a gripping zero to hero journey. Captain Price returns and forms a rogue alliance operating outside the system and apart from the Task Force 141 team that he once called his own. Activision promises missions set in diverse global locations, including New York, Paris, and Mumbai. The second story that's attached to this is apparently Activision has no problem getting the game running on Nintendo Switch 2. Alongside its new standalone extraction mode DMZ, the announcement of a Switch 2 version has turned heads, confirming recent rumors for the first time since 2013's Call of Duty Ghosts on the Wii U and Call of Duty will be playable on a Nintendo console, with Modern Warfare 4 on Switch 2 launching day and date with the other versions. Speaking to VGC ahead of Modern Warfare's announcement, Infinity Ward studio Jack O'Hara relayed his excitement about the franchise finally returning to Nintendo. It's exciting to be back on a Nintendo platform, smiles O'Hara. It's always been fun to come out onto a new platform, especially a portable platform, but for us, Nintendo is super exciting. And apparently, they've been impressed with the Switch 2, suggesting that its performance is favorable compared to the other current gen versions. To be honest, it's been pretty seamless, says O'Hara. We've got the hardware, then when we got the game up and running very quickly, and now it's just optimization. It's just about optimization and performance. So the one thing that is interesting is the fact that yes, it's running on Switch 2, but the Switch 2 is not really that much more powerful than Xbox One and PS4, which makes it kind of interesting that we're not getting versions of those.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I was surprised. I had a similar thought process around that when you know when I heard this news because as you rightfully said, Switch 2 realistically isn't that much more powerful than those machines. Obviously, it does have some technology that allows them to get more out of less power using DLSS, which is NVIDIA's technology that you can also use on PC, which is basically an upscaling tech so they can run things at a lower internal resolution to help keep frame rates high while having the image also look quite good still for the hardware, right?
Yeah.
What does surprise me though is them saying, "Oh, we actually found this quite easy." Like, because it makes you wonder at that point, why have they never tried to, it is certainly in at least a very, very long time, why have they never tried to put this back on Nintendo platform, right? We know why they're doing it now, because they're actually legally obligated to do so because of all of the court proceedings and everything when Microsoft took over Activision Blizzard. So they have to do it. That's the one part I don't get. People are saying they're surprised that there's a Switch 2 version of this game. And it's like, have people forgotten that they're legally obligated to make a Nintendo version of Call of Duty for at least the next 10 years? That was the legal obligation that they had, you know. So yeah, it's you know, I'm excited to see the game. I do, as a long time Call of Duty fan, Modern Warfare has always been my favorite. I do understand people's apprehension around, you know, depicting real world countries having a conflict and all those kinds of things. But what I would say is this isn't actually new to the genre. Like, we had real world countries having conflicts in first person shooter games 25 years ago. The only reason we moved away from it was because of political tensions between America and Russia, really, right? Like, that was because, let's be honest, you go back to Call of Duty 4, the first ever Modern Warfare game, and the villains in that game are Russian people.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't really get it. I don't understand why people are like, "Oh, this is..." Yes, okay, it will be somewhat controversial in that region of the world. But what I would say is, personally, I respect it more for using real world countries and kind of having this sort of grounded nature of like taking some real world tension and being, this is what could happen, you know, or this is an idea of, if this was to happen, this is like a story within that, right? It's I don't really personally see the issue with that. But again, I don't live in that region, I'm not from that region, so I cannot speak to how people within that region would feel. And yeah, I'm excited to see this. It's, you know, coming out on October the 23rd, which I think is probably a good release date for it. It gives it around a month before GTA 6 comes out, because there
And it
will
be on Game Pass.
Yeah. So that's the one thing to remember for people, is it won't be launching into Game Pass day one this year. Obviously, most people that want Call of Duty are probably going to buy it anyway, because that's just always been the case. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get review access to it for at least a couple of us. That would be nice. We'll see what happens. Activision do like us sometimes, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think this is a good release date for it. I'll have a keen eye on how the Nintendo Switch 2 version comes out, of like, is it actually going to be fully the same game, or will there be some cutbacks to allow it to be able to run on that system. Um, but yeah, I think this is good news. Obviously, them having announced this before the Xbox showcase is somewhat surprising,
Yeah.
just because this is a major game. Like, yeah, okay, everybody knows that a Call of Duty is coming every year, but Modern Warfare 4 in particular, that's like a major release within the franchise. So it does make me think, and we'll get onto it later, but it does make me think, what the hell else do they have for this showcase? If they were happy to let this announcement be a separate thing,
Mm-hmm.
what else do they have? But before we get to all of that, though, we do, of course, have some more news to talk about. So where do we want to go next with the news today?
Let's shut down some windows here. This one was kind of interesting. So, Fandom and GameSpot's parent company, Integrated Media Company (IMC), is set to become the majority owner of Balacho publisher PlayStack. PlayStack's current owner, Turin, announced the proposed sale earlier this week, as noted by Game Developer. It told investors it had agreed to sell its 84.5% stake in UK publisher to Vantage Co., a direct subsidiary of IMC, for approximately 151 million USD. If the deal is approved by shareholders, it means the indie games publisher will become part of the same ownership as. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my cat is trying to
The cat is
sleep.
attacking the show, everybody.
She's trying to eat my chocolate. All right. All right. So if the deal is approved by shareholders, it means the indie game publisher will become part of the same ownership and as entertainment brands such as Fandom, Screen Junkies, Fanatical, and GameSpot. PlayStack claims it has a hit ratio of more than 85%. The combined PlayStack catalog has grossed over 100 million on Steam and generated over 20 million downloads during its last fiscal year. TrueFin CEO James Vanderberg said, "We believe the disposal of PlayStack represents a milestone for TrueFin and a clear demonstration of our disciplined approach to capital allocation and value creation. We thoroughly have enjoyed working with PlayStack team over the last 2 years and look forward to them achieving future success. MC is a superb platform for the next stage in PlayStack's journey, and we wish the team at IMC well for the future." So this is, for me, absolutely concerning. I don't think it's a good thing really at all, considering like the layoffs that we've seen from this company as well too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like it's
So
very
I
interesting.
I have concerns. I do want to say before we talk on this, we do have a friend that works at PlayStack. Hello, Naman. We hope you're well. Um, MBZ. You've seen him on the show before. He is one of the major players over at PlayStack. Discovered many of their games over the years, including Balatro. So I do have concerns over this. Not because of the PlayStack side of things. I think their intention will be to continue doing what they do, and their hope would be that this will give them, more resources and more stability, and like the statements say, sort of help to take them to the next level, right? Because they've had a couple of big hits here and there, and they've got Mortal Shell 2 that's coming out this year as well. So they are they're an upward trending publisher within the industry, let's put it that way. My concerns, similar to yours, Jeff, is one, the company that's taking them over is basically a media conglomerate who have just laid off thousands and thousands of people across various different websites and things. But also, surely there's some sort of conflict of interest of having essentially a media conglomerate that covers video games own a
Yeah,
video game publisher.
like they'll have their notices and stuff at the beginning of the reviews that state that type of disclosure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of not too different from when IGN bought, Humble Bumble.
Yeah.
And then you would have games that were featured on Humble Bumble and in these packages and all sorts of stuff. So there is like those types of things. But again, like I don't think that's the big issue here, because I think that they'll be able to still be um, kind of honest about some stuff. It's the same thing with like WWE having the deal with ESPN, and then ESPN rating one of their PLEs a D.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's still like a lot of truth to
Of
kind of
course.
behind those opinions. But yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing. My main concern is that the job stability of these developers and the ability to create games like Mortal Shell, because Mortal Shell 2 probably has the budget of every other PlayStation game combined.
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't be
You know,
surprised because at least based on what we've seen of it so far, it seems like a much bigger scale game compared to the first. And obviously, with PlayStack having had some massive successes in recent years, Balatro being one of them, you would imagine they have more money within the company. So they're probably taking quite a big risk on Mortal Shell 2. But I really do hope that one pans out because I am looking forward to that game. So, we'll
Souls
keep
like
an eye on
punching
PlayStack.
simulator, because that whole trailer was just punching, and it was so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. We will keep an eye on PlayStack, of course, and feel free to take what we say with a grain of salt because, like I said, we do have our friend Mr. MBZ Naman over there, good friend of ours, good friend of the show. But we wish everybody there all the best, and do you know what? We hope that this deal does work out brilliantly for you because PlayStack is one of my favorite publishers. I think they find some really interesting and unique games that I have the impression wouldn't see the light of day without PlayStack's involvement. So I hope that that can continue into the future.
All righty. Moving on, we have CD Projekt Red has officially announced that a third expansion for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Songs of the Past is coming next year. This new expansion will be co-developed, well, actually, will be developed by Fool's Theory in collaboration with CD Projekt, who is obviously working on a variety of different Witcher projects right now. So, Songs of the Past will return players to the role of the legendary monster slayer Geralt of Rivia for a brand new adventure when it launches in 2027. So far, the expansion has only been announced for PlayStation 5, Series X consoles, and PC, with no information regarding a Switch version. CD Projekt Red is co-developing the expansion with Fool's Theory, a team comprised industry veterans who worked on The Witcher 3. Now, if you don't know who Fool's Theory is, their latest game was The Thermitage, which is available via Game Pass on Xbox consoles. However, in a message on social media, the studio confirmed that it had indeed originally planned to announce Song of the Past in Thursday's live stream, but a launcher leak moved up its plans. We originally planned to make this a big reveal during our Red streams tomorrow, but we found something we didn't yet expect on Red's launcher. The CD Projekt is currently working on multiple Witcher projects, such as The Witcher 4, a remake of The Witcher 1, and a multiplayer game set within the Witcher universe. So yeah, like this is great news. Full
Yeah.
stop. That they are going to be supporting The Witcher 3 yet again with Songs of the Past. I'm assuming that
And
it
let's
is going to
remember
have.
this is more than 10 years after the original release of the game, which is crazy. Like for a single player
Yeah.
game, I just want to state how crazy that is. For a single player game to basically still get what I would call a major expansion over 10 years later, that is mostly unheard of. I think it might have happened one or two times before. But
Yeah,
other than that, yeah.
I'm just wondering if this particular expansion is going to tie into The Witcher 4. Like maybe they're thinking like, oh hey, we could have had this story where Geralt blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and then they're like, well, what if we just made an expansion for Witcher 3 and told that story, and so that when 4 comes out, there's some type of thing that kind
connection.
of connects
Yeah.
it. That's something that I could definitely see um, happening. Just because of like the timing.
Yeah, for
Now,
sure. I mean,
you
I
know,
mean, I think you make a good point there of is this going to lead into The Witcher 4? Also, what I think is interesting about this, they say they brought the announcement forward because of a leak, but people knew that this thing existed months ago because it was originally expected to come out this year, is
I
what I
I
heard.
think I think it's not so much that they were trying to like make the news sound shocking, even though there was that announcement of
Yeah,
or leak before. But I think it's mostly like the name of it and things like that. Essentially,
true.
um,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, controlling like the official announcement of it and
And
whatnot.
what I will say is with this DLC coming, I may now finally go back to The Witcher 3 after losing my 100-hour save and actually play it again. So
See, I'm just like if they release this in a collector's edition with another Gwent pack, I'll 100% get that because like I have all four Gwent
oh
decks.
nice. Oh wow.
Um, yeah, and I even had like a big Gwent board and all that kind of
Wow.
stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, so that and it's I don't like the Gwent game, like the expansion thing that the separate game that they
The
did
separate game, yeah.
because they
Yeah.
changed the rules and I just didn't really care for it. But Gwent within Witcher 3 is the only card game in any game period that I've actually spent more than 10 minutes in.
Wow.
The only time I will ever play a card game if it's crucial to the story, like in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or whatever, when you're on that ship and you have to play the card
Yeah.
game, that's the only
Yeah.
time that I've ever played a card game in a game.
Fair.
Aside from that, Gwent was just so much fun. Um, but yeah, like I'm interested to see kind of the length of what this is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be 12 to 15 hours because I think the other Blood and Wine
Yeah.
and other ones I think were around that.
Yeah.
Um, and the like, I haven't tried Thermitage. Rebecca had tried it for a little while. She wasn't really catching on to it. But the fact that these guys are ex Witcher 3 guys, that boosts my confidence considerably
Absolutely.
for it. So we'll have to see how it kind of goes. I mean, we don't really have much information other than songs of the past. So obviously, this is probably going to be some type of thing where maybe this will lead into even the Witcher 1 remake. Maybe that
Yeah.
Geralt is telling a story, and maybe we go back and play a younger Geralt.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'll be interested to see with this expansion as well, and because expansions sometimes do this, is is this also going to be them? Are they going to add some sort of small gameplay mechanic or something that they're testing out for another game? You know, like, is this going to be? Are they going to use this as a testing ground for something? Because we often see expansions of games add little mechanics or add new
Yeah,
systems.
the Soul stuff is like FromSoft does that a lot, where
Yeah,
like they will introduce new mechanics, and then that is the main mechanic for the next games and stuff.
yeah,
We've seen them do that a lot,
yeah. So
but
I'm
yeah,
interested to see if that's what they do here. But yeah, like you said, unfortunately, we don't know too much at the moment. But hopefully, as we get closer to 2027, I would imagine if I was to guess right now, I would say that the first time we actually see some sort of trailer for this expansion properly will probably be the Game Awards later this year. That would be my guess. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. But I think we have a little bit more news to talk about before we go into what we've been playing. So where do we want to go next, Jeff?
sure. Do we want to toss the 007 stuff just into our impressions?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, we can do that then. All right, so the final news story of today is a very pricey and very spicy one. Valve has announced that the Steam Deck is the latest piece of gaming tech to receive a price increase, with both models seeing an increase of over 40%. So from today, the 512 OLED model is now going to be 789 USD, which is 1,129 CAD. Um,
Ooh.
ooh, the 1 terabyte model will be going to 950 USD, and that is 1,349 CAD. So it would cost me if I wanted a 1 terabyte Steam Deck, it would cost me $1,400. Get fucked.
Yeah, I agree. And
Like,
I do just want to say on this for a minute. I like the Steam Deck. I actually sold my Steam Deck because I now have a different handheld that I am reviewing over at the Outer Haven. You'll hear about it soon. But I would now not buy a Steam Deck at this new price. I don't
no,
think they're
not at
worth
all.
that money.
Nope.
As Jeff just said, for him it would cost 1,400 to get a 1 terabyte Steam Deck, right?
Like
At that
if
point,
this
he might as well
was
invest that money into a PC. Like,
like yeah, like honestly, like if this was like if this was Valve announcing the Steam Deck 2 and said these are
yeah,
the prices, I would 100% believe it. But because this is the exact same hardware that you were buying for 46% less like
yeah,
2 weeks ago,
yeah,
like that is a nasty increase.
yeah. I completely agree with you. I think, and as you said, if this was the second Steam Deck, if this was the Steam Deck 2, I think it would be more acceptable because it would be like, okay, this is newer, more powerful hardware, but we do also understand that world circumstances mean that prices for tech is now higher than what they maybe would have been, right? It's kind of like that's why they haven't announced the price or the release date for the Steam machine yet. It's sort of the same thing, but with this price increase for the Steam Deck, it makes me wonder if the Steam machine's even going to come out because, the Steam machine is effectively meant to be 4 Steam Decks. That's kind of how they equated it to people, is like it's roughly the power of 4 Steam Decks put together. And it's like, so does that mean it's going to
Yeah.
cost 4 times the price?
Well, and the thing about it as well too is like you take a look at like the Steam Deck's compatibility right now in terms of like a lot of newer releases, and they're very hit and miss. So it
Yeah,
doesn't really make the Steam Deck a viable, like this is almost kind of like, hey guys, we have 150 Steam Decks in the warehouse. How do we not sell those? Like
yeah, yeah. I think, and I don't want to be too critical because I like Valve as a company, but I do wonder whether part of this price increase is not only the world economics at the moment, but also them looking at other handhelds and sort of going, well, all of these other companies are managing to charge quite considerably more than us, and those devices are actually selling. But
yeah,
I
but I
think,
think the compatibility for those devices are significantly better.
yeah, and
in
also
terms
those
in, in terms
devices,
of like the Steam store and like the other stores and stuff, not so much like it being a emulation machine, which is what the Steam Deck has been perfect for.
yes, yeah, absolutely. But I think the other thing is people have to remember, like, these machines that did cost more than the Steam Deck were also considerably more powerful than the Steam Deck, right? Like, so it's sort of, that's why I said I'm not trying to disparage people from buying things. If you want a Steam Deck, go and buy one. But what I would say is if you're really just looking for a PC type of handheld, now with this Steam Deck price increase, it is it's the worst option that you could buy at this new price. It really is. And I would implore you to look at the other options out there, please, because this is terrible news, and The amount that this price has gone up, in my opinion, is unacceptable. I
Yeah,
can understood
and
I could understand it going up a bit, but yeah, this is crazy.
like I still find it funny that people think that the PS6 is going to launch for 700 US.
That's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Not even close.
No,
Not even
no.
close.
I mean, there's a reason that the PS5 Pro was the price it was. Do you know what I mean? And you would have to assume, just by default, the PS6 would have to be more expensive than that. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. So when
Mhm.
you add on top all of the other circumstances we've had recently, I would be shocked, and I've said this before, I would genuinely be shocked if the next generation consoles were less than $1,000 US.
Yeah, like for me, it's like I'm going to be able to afford either the next Xbox or the next PlayStation. And I tell you right now, Game Pass is going to push my decision towards the next Xbox.
For
Um,
sure, for sure.
you know,
Yeah,
like
and if that
there
next Xbox is what they say it is as well, you'll effectively have a PC as well as an Xbox. So,
pretty much.
so, so, but anyway, I would just say on the back of this Steam Deck news, as I said, if you're looking at a handheld, please consider the other options because I do not believe with any fiber of my being that the Steam Deck, for as good of a device as it is and as it was when it first came out, is not worth this new price by any stretch of the imagination. So please look somewhere else. But for now, we should probably get into games we've been playing. However, just before we do that, there's a little bit of news that does obviously connect to one of the games we've both played, which is 007 First Light, because it has sold perhaps much better than anyone expected, right? At least the initial signs are sending us that belief. So how's it selling right now, Jeff?
Yeah, so it's off to a strong start commercially with IO Interactive claiming that 1.5 million sales were achieved in the first 24 hours. According to Alina Analytics estimates, at least a third of those 1.5 million sales came from PC via Steam, and a third of the players have also played IO's other action series, Hitman. China is the number two Steam market for First Light so far, with 18% of players, second only to the US's 29%, according to Alina. The strong sales momentum follows positive critical reviews for the Bond tile, with many outlets, including VGC, awarding it top marks. The milestone of 1.5 million units sold in 24 hours reflects overwhelming global enthusiasm for the 007 First Light and represents a significant achievement for IO Interactive. With an 88 OpenCritic rating and an 87 Metacritic score for 007 First Light has been embraced by both critics and players alike, already establishing itself as one of 2026's most successful gaming releases. The sales recorded across all platforms underscored the game's broad appeal and the successful execution of IO Interactive's vision to honor Bond's legacy in gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's selling extremely well. I mean, like I've seen like a lot of people basically streaming it. I watched Burnt Peanut play through a good portion of the game as well too, which has been super fun. But yeah, like and like it does a lot to kind of like cement the Bond legacy, like
Yeah.
because and here's in especially in gaming, and let's be honest, Bond has never had an amazing track record in gaming. There are more bad Bond games than good
Yeah.
ones, and even the good
I mean,
ones are still
yeah.
iffy.
And I mean, I'll say it right now. This is the best Bond game we've ever had by a
Yep.
country mile, in my opinion. Like,
Oh, for sure.
it's, and I know that there are some. I don't know why it's choppy right now. This is just this video, I believe, but there are some things that will frustrate certain players, right? So, for example, I know you occasionally had an issue with the camera during combat, right, Jeff? Like,
Yeah, there's it's mostly in this village here. There's a spot where after you've won the fighting little tournament thing to earn some money, um you get attacked by these guys. And the area that you fight in is so small that I was getting backed into some corners where I couldn't even see Bond. And the fighting and stuff like that, like depending on the difficulty you play on, has colors that will be attached to their particular moves.
yeah,
And if you're stuck in a certain area and they're just pulling off red attacks and you can't actually dodge, you're getting hit by those. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about
yeah,
it. So yeah, it was just one little section that was kind of really pissing me off because like the camera for um the
yeah,
punching aspects of it. Because like the camera
yeah.
for the shooting and stuff here is fine. It's absolutely fine. It's more than serviceable.
Yes, yeah. I initially didn't have the same issues. However, if you follow me over on my personal Twitch channel, Wheelie Average over there, if you want to check me out, I have actually been replaying the game over there. And during replaying the game, I did notice I didn't quite have the same thing where I couldn't see Bond, but what I did notice was you could get yourself into situations where because the camera is so close to Bond, you couldn't actually see behind you, which made fighting multiple enemies at times really, really difficult, like more difficult than it needed to be. And it's a shame because I think if they pulled that camera out slightly during your combat sections, it would alleviate the issue entirely, right? Like, just pull the camera away a tiny bit, and I think it fixes a lot of the problem. But other than that, I actually really like the combat of the game. I think that both the fist to fist sort of stuff and the shooting are very, very good. I think they're
Yeah.
very fun. I
See,
think,
I
yeah,
I kind of wish like some of the brawling combat followed a little bit more into the Arkham stuff where there was more kind of dynamic stuff around the the blocking or the dodging out of the way, because I think that it basically boils down to you either like deflect the yellow attacks, dodge out of the way of the red attacks, and then get your combos in. And some of the combos, like you'll press down like the X and the A button at the exact same time to do a certain move, or you can dash at them or stuff, or you can like tap X and then hold X and then tap X and then that does something. So I think that it's a little more complicated for its own good, but also a little too simplistic for some of its other aspects of it. Because like for example, there's no way to if you're hanging above two guys, there's no way to like strike both of them. You have to wait for one to move over, attack that guy, and then do that stuff. And I think sometimes the AI can be a little stupid for like, like it's quiet and then you're like fisticuffing some guy and like in an execution kill, whatever, like 6 steps over from that guy, and you hear oh, poof, poof, oh poof, oh, poof, and the other guy is like la 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 la. And
yeah,
then so there are some parts that do kind of make the AI feel stupid in some respects. But I
yeah,
mean, yeah, like the combat does feel very very Bond like, but I wish there was stuff like where like an enemy could like reach behind and grab it and then Bond would jump up and kick off another guy and that kind of stuff. So I think
yeah.
that there's room for that combat system to grow.
I agree, but I do think that we have, like, I actually completely agree with what you just said. What I would say, though, to counteract it slightly, is two things. One, you actually sort of touched on there. This is their first Bond game, right? And
Yeah.
we do now know from IO that this is part of a planned trilogy of Bond games. So I do think there is space for that system to grow. However, where I would maybe disagree slightly is that I quite like that this isn't too similar to the Arkham stuff, just because at the end of the day, Bond isn't a superhero. And him,
No, but I think that like a lot of the types of things that I'm asking for isn't necessarily to copy Arkham, but to have
yeah,
more dynamic range in regards to the things that you
yeah.
can do when you block or the things that you can do when you dodge.
Yeah, and that's where I agree. But I guess what I was trying to say is Bond having slightly more limitations than Batman, for example, makes sense to me because Bond isn't a superhero, you know? like
Yeah.
like it's so I kind of get that part of it. What I really like with the combat is the way that once you get the hang of it, you can actually really flow between the shooting, which I actually think is very good here. If you compare it to something like the Hitman games themselves, or even like an Uncharted 4, which there's definitely a lot of DNA of both of those games within this game.
Yeah.
The shooting and combat is so much better than both of those games. So, but
Yeah,
what
like
I
cuz
like is
like
go on.
continue on just
I
so you
was
don't
going to
lose my
say the
thought.
way that you can flow between the shooting and the hand to hand stuff is what impressed me most. Like, you'll be firing a gun, and Bond will be like, right, I'm out of ammo. So you can throw that gun at somebody. You
Yeah.
can then do a takedown on them, pick up their gun. You can shoot the next person in the hand, and that will make them drop their gun. Or
Mhm.
you can shoot them in the knee to stun them. I think it's a deeper system than I think a lot of people will understand. But I think that, as you mentioned before, some of the things you can do in it are a little bit too complex. And I think it will make people stick to the basics. Like, you'll find a certain way of doing things that you like, and you'll just do that thing over and over and over. So,
Yeah, like to me, it's like the kind of like the simplicity into certain things and stuff does make a lot of encounters just kind of feel like it's rinse and repeat. Like it doesn't feel like every encounter feels unique from one another. You will get some like some things that can make it feel unique where you have like explosive barrels or propane types of tanks and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I don't think like the combat, like some of the combat encounters, I don't feel um, sometimes differentiate from each other in big areas. Like
yeah,
once you start getting into certain areas and you start using your Q watch to like you know detect where like a gas vein is or a gas main or whatever to blow it up and then that goes there and like
yeah,
one scene feels completely ripped out of GoldenEye at the airport and whatnot.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, for
but
sure.
like there again, like it all the systems are solid. It definitely feels like they have, figured out what they want to do and how they want the identity of combat to kind of feel. I used to
Yeah.
feel that like some of the set pieces don't feel as unique from one another.
I agree with that. Yeah, they don't feel as unique as they probably should or could. I definitely do agree with that. What I will say though, what I really want to highlight with this game, because I do think the concern I had going into Bond was because I knew that IO had the gameplay chops, right? I knew they had the level design chops. I knew that they knew how to make good gameplay systems. My question was, could they tell a good story? And I know that you differed on it slightly, at least early on, but this
Yeah,
story captured me really early, and
yeah,
I'm so impressed by it from a writing perspective, from a performances perspective. Like Patrick Gibson, who plays Bond here in this game, I think is brilliant. I think he does a
mhm,
brilliant job as a young James Bond, and Lenny James, who's a British actor that plays Greenway, does a really good job of like playing the polar opposite of Bond throughout the
mhm.
whole game, and their dynamic is just really interesting. And I think that this, at least for IO games going into the future, the storytelling here sets a new standard for them, and I think that they will now have to bring more storytelling into their other games, not
Yeah,
just
like
Bond as well.
yeah, like Hitman's stories were always just kind of like bookend type of things,
Yeah,
to a certain extent. But I mean, yeah, the story here is excellent. I just wish the tutorial, essentially feel of it didn't feel like it needed to be like, you know, 2 to 3 hours of this kind of like the tutorial stuff.
yeah.
I think like the pacing in the first couple hours is kind of, well, actually, the pacing through the entire game is very weird because
I agree
the
with
first
that. I
the,
agree
the,
with that.
the first couple hours and stuff like that, the pacing is kind of all over the place. And then you get into this rhythm of like doing a mission, going back to MI6, doing a mission, going back to MI6, doing a mission, going back to MI6. And like it does kind of ruin the pacing when you get there and they're kind of like, hey, Q wants to see you. And then like you'll wander around interacting with all this other kind of stuff and then eventually finding him. And then it kind of goes to the training of everything, and then eventually you'll get back onto the mission, and then that mission will start with very slow stuff and then eventually build up to certain things, and that kind of repeats all the time, and so it has this big like roller coaster type of thing of like how the pacing goes. And I think that the story is good, absolutely, the story is fantastic. My main issue with how the story kind of goes is it the game almost wants to end 3 different times.
I agree with that. Yeah, because there's a couple of times that I thought I was getting to the ending, and
Yeah,
then it carries on.
yeah. And then you're
So
like,
yeah,
well,
I
clearly
agree with
this
that.
is the ending now. And then something else changes. And they're like,
Yeah,
okay, all right, clearly this is the ending now. And then another hour and a half.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
What I
and
will
those are
say
some of the
though,
best missions.
and yeah, I was just gonna say I won't spoil them, but what I will say is the last handful of missions in the game are brilliant. They feel like Bond through and through. They have action set pieces in them. They still have, some of those slower moments, but not as many. And that's one thing I think they've done really well here is there is Hitman DNA in this game, in the level design, in the fact that you can do things in multiple ways, but they've stripped it back to a certain extent to make it feel more easily accessible. Like, even when you're earning money in this village, right? There's like 7 or 8 different ways you can do it. So everyone will have a slightly different experience. I didn't do the fighting cage thing. I did a shooting
Oh,
challenge
you
and
didn't get to meet Shroud? Oh my god, you missed out. The extreme
I did.
personality of one Shroud.
Yeah, I didn't do the shoot. So I did a shooting challenge and I did a couple of other things, and it's like, but I like that, right? Because it maintains that Hitman DNA. But this is not a Hitman game. Like, it feels different to Hitman.
Yeah,
You're,
I was kind of glad that it wasn't going to be just a Hitman skin, and it does have some stuff. Like when you get to like the party, whatever at the beginning that everyone's invited to, it does feel very Hitman, where like you are trying to manipulate yourself into other areas, utilizing various tech type of
yeah,
stuff that Hitman had kind of access to. And some of the stuff
yes,
is kind of like making a guy feel sick or activating a generator or something, and then
yeah,
going and snatching a key card and then going in.
yeah.
And like it doesn't have that thing where you're just like dragging a guy over and taking his outfit and then going. So like it does navigate itself away from um the Hitman stuff, and it does kind of
Yeah.
feel like, okay, this does feel
Yeah.
natural for Bond.
What I would say is, as a huge Hitman fan, I think that there will be Hitman purists that are disappointed that this game isn't more like Hitman. But in reality, the balance between, and I mentioned Uncharted earlier, right? But that's because the most easy way to describe this game, in my opinion, for people who don't know, is basically if Hitman and Uncharted 4 had a baby and then sprinkled in an Arkham style melee combat system with better gunplay, but the cinematic presentation of a Bond style game, or even a Bond movie. Like, some of these transitions they do are crazy. that is basically what this game is. It's the combination of three different games, and they balance all of those very well. Like, I didn't want this, as much of a huge Hitman fan as I am, I didn't want this to just feel like, oh, Hitman, but I'm James Bond, so I'm not
Yeah,
really
that
killing
was that
people.
was my biggest fear, is that it was just going to be Hitman again. And thankfully
Yeah,
they kind of navigate away from that.
yeah,
And they do kind of have like extra sections that were not really part of Hitman before, like the driving stuff. I
yeah,
will say, like, driving the big vehicle without spoiling anything was definitely more fun than driving the cars, which felt just like um extremely linear sections. Like
yeah.
you
What I
weren't
will
driving
say
through streets and stuff.
is from a mechanical point of view, though, the driving didn't feel as bad as I thought it was going to. Like, I remember when they initially showed the driving, there was very much a feeling of, oh, that doesn't look good. The
Yeah, and
driving
like,
actually felt okay here. Like, it wasn't
yeah,
terrible.
like the driving sections were my least impressive moments of this game. And like the
I
one
agree.
vehicle that you want to drive, you only get to activate like the actual like weapons of it, and the actual driving with the weapons is going to be regulated to their little like tactical sim type of thing, and that part's coming later as well too for that particular mission.
Yes.
So like I definitely do want to see, like, I want, like, for the next Bond is like I almost want like a car chase in like Vienna, or like, or something like
Yeah.
that, where
Yeah.
you're going through these like tightly crowded streets and like having to navigate certain pathways and getting to certain things, and like everything's flying off the shelves and
Yeah.
counters as you're hitting them. Like I want a little bit more dynamism to like the actual
Yeah.
driving, because the you only get one real like driving sequence in this game in regards to like the car. And
Hmm.
like it's literally just going, you're going to go down the path or you're going to go on the shortcut, and that's
Yeah.
literally all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, I'm not saying there isn't stuff this game can build on. Like, there definitely is
Oh,
stuff this game can build
absolutely.
on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was so impressed by this game. Like, it's rare that I will immediately play a game again, and I immediately started playing Bond again. And like, it's a fun video game to play. And as I said, for me at least, I really liked the story of this game. I actually said
Yeah.
to someone while I was playing it, if this was a story of an origin movie for James Bond, I don't think anyone would be disappointed with it. It's that quality of story, in my opinion. It
Yeah,
was really good.
I do wish some of the story beats and stuff were using the cutscene models, because like there's
Yeah.
some parts where you're talking with like Q or the one girl, where they're using the in-game models,
And they
and
don't look
don't
quite as good, right?
they don't look near as good. Like I
Yeah.
think you get two actual cutscene moments with Q, and the rest of it is just through the actual in-game models,
Yeah.
and those
Yeah.
models do not look amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because like the
I
facial capture that they've got for some of like the Bond sequences, like the actual like cutscene stuff, is amazing.
I agree. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it's just some of the cutscenes that are just the characters talking and stuff like that. Like, I think the direction could have been a little bit better in some of those moments to kind of
I
make
agree.
them feel a little better.
Especially
Um,
when their cutscenes, as you said, were so good, right?
yeah,
Like, from a direction standpoint, from a capture standpoint, like I mentioned earlier, some of the like camera cuts and transitions they do are very movie like. Like, I don't know who they had directing these things, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had someone from the Bond movies or Bond movie adjacent sort of connected to these things, because there are certain transitions they do and it's like, yeah, I can see that in a Bond movie. Do you know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
it's very, very clever. But I do agree with you that some of the more in-game scenes, because the cutscenes are so impressive, some of the in-game scenes definitely stand out as lesser than, you know.
Yeah, because like you get the big scenes like at the club or like the parties and things that you go to where there's tons of NPCs, and some of those models don't look terribly great. I do have to applaud that it's not just copying pasting of a whole bunch of people. Like everybody seems to have their own outfits and faces and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
which is super
only
super nice.
saw I think I only saw the same face like on two different occasions in the
Yeah.
whole game. So that was quite impressive. So this was the one I did. I did the shooting challenge. So yeah, but it's I really like this game. And I said it
Mhm.
earlier, I think that this is the best Bond game we've had
Yeah.
by a
I
long
mean,
way.
the bar is not terribly high there because like,
Yeah,
like everyone loves GoldenEye. I think GoldenEye is great. I think it's incredibly overrated for being a good Bond game. I think it's a
I
great
agree.
first-person shooter, but I
Yeah.
mean, like, you never really feel
It,
like you're Bond in that game. And this
I
is
agree.
one of the this is
GoldenEye essentially was a licensed game that had a very good multiplayer. That's why people like it.
yeah,
That's
and
really what it is.
like you get some good bonds, like Agent Under Fire was pretty decent, and that was the first Bond game I think to have a Bond that was not one of the movie Bonds, but they didn't really do
Yes,
anything that kind of build up who that was. This is one
I
of the
agree.
first Bond games where I think you actually feel like Bond.
Yeah,
um
I agree.
and like you get
And what I will say is no spoilers, but if this is going to be a trilogy like IO says that it is, I'm genuinely excited to see where they go with it because there are also teasers of certain gameplay things of like how the gameplay is actually going to improve into the future. Like there's certain tech that you see in QLab, for example, that you don't actually get to use, but it's almost like they're teasing it like, hey, this is something that Bond's going to be able to use down the line. Or there are certain things that you might only get to use once in the game, but they're kind of teasing like eventually when Bond becomes Bond, he's going to have access to this as well, you know? So
yeah, and they do set
I
up
am
like
excited to see where they go.
they do set up a really good reoccurring character that's going to be a part of like the next game and stuff, and where the story is likely going to go there.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
um
yeah, for sure.
so
For
that's going to
sure.
be really good. And I do have to say, like, I really do like the villain, like the actual like villain of the
Yeah.
story, and
Yeah.
that stuff's really
And the
interesting.
performance of that character is really good. Like
Yeah.
very, very good.
No, like it
Yeah.
again, it is a very, very good game. It's easily the best Bond game. Again, that's not a high bar to really reach because we've had maybe like three good Bond games, being
Yeah, for
GoldenEye,
sure.
Everything or Nothing, and then what's the other one? Not Agent Under Fire, Nightfire. Like those are pretty
Yes.
much like the best ones. Like we haven't had really a traditional Bond game since 007 Legends, which was you wouldn't piss on that thing if it was on fire. Um, and then we had that 007 Cipher or whatever, which was like a mobile game,
Yeah.
but that doesn't really
Yeah.
count.
Yeah.
So like we haven't really had like a good Bond game in a while. I think like
Yeah.
honestly, probably Everything or Nothing is like the last really good one.
Yeah.
Um,
And look, Jeff, you're obviously handling our review for this. I assume you're going to have a written review at some point.
yeah, I got about four
Consider it
paragraphs right now.
Considering I'm not going to be reviewing and scoring it, I might as well share with people where I sit right now because I haven't been able to review it. I was on video duty over at the Outer Haven, so so I helped them make the video for it. But I would probably score this on our scale. Like now that we've spoken about it and I've had a bit of time to ruminate on the game, probably a 9 out of 10. Like I think there are some shortcomings with this game, but it is some of those shortcomings are, in my opinion, acceptable given this is the first Bond game. And I think that a lot of the positives vastly outweigh those shortcomings, in my opinion.
Yeah, like for me right now, if I had to shotgun score it, it would probably be about an 8.5. And that is
Yeah.
excellent. And that's mainly because like none of the driving sequences are really that impressive. They're
Yeah.
no different than what the Bond games were giving us 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then when you take a look at a driving sequence like an Uncharted 4, which was years and years ago, there's no comparison.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, like again, like in some aspects of the game, I don't think hold up. Like its story is definitely it's one of its best aspects because it is a very good story. It does keeps all the twists and turns going. There's some predictability, sure, but there still is like a better Bond story than I think we've had for a long time. I think it's a better
I
Bond
agree.
story than any of the Daniel Craig movies, which are still excellent.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I will say that I think this is one of the most disappointing Bond opening themes. The Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
I didn't think the song was that great.
So having heard it a couple of times now, I will say it's grown on me slightly, but I do agree with you that like when I initially heard it, I was like, yeah, this doesn't even really feel like a Bond theme. Like
It
it
just I don't
just
know. It doesn't
yeah.
it like I love like GoldenEye is my favorite Bond movie. I don't think it's the best Bond song. I think the best Bond song is probably Skyfall because it
I agree.
just feels like a Bond song. Like it just
Yeah.
feels like it. And even like the one that what is it, the Rainbow Stripes and or what is it? I can't remember which one it was. Which one was it? Bond theme Rainbow Stripes? Is that what is it? Is that the band?
I don't know.
No, yeah. So Jack White and Alicia Keys did Quantum of Solace, and
Ah, yes.
that one was a little weird, but it still kind of felt
It still kind of fit. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
agree.
But
I
this
agree.
one here, like yeah, I'm just not as impressed with in terms of the theme. It also didn't help like the women that were dancing around looked very robotic and had like white glowing eyes.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
almost expecting like robotic women at some point in the game. And they do
I
kind of
mean,
like
it's not far off.
yeah. They do kind of like really during a lot of the marketing, they really ramped up those guys with like the masks,
Yeah.
but they're like it's literally just kind of like one guy that's kind of wearing that.
Yeah.
Um but no, it's like I think like I really loved the resort. Like that was one of my favorite ones just because it kind of it still had all the things that you were doing in the other areas, but it had more of a sense of urgency where like you're tracking like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
biometrics of people and they're like, oh, the biomet their uh, biometrics are down, like run, Bond, whoa. Like
Yeah,
that stuff was
definitely.
really good.
I will say, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a character in this game that you meet around the time of the gameplay that we were watching just now that I hope is a reoccurring character throughout the series because they were actually quite an impressive character and their performance was pretty good. And there was more to the backstory of that character that they kind of allude to and don't explore. So I hope that that character continues to show up throughout the series because Bond always has that. Like even in the Daniel Craig movies, there's always some sort of side character that consistently shows up throughout, right? Like in the
Yeah.
Daniel Craig movies, you've got the CIA agent, which is basically in every single one of these the Daniel Craig movies because he's like just this small part, but he is crucial to the story in some
Well, yeah,
ways.
and you had like I think during the Pierce Brosnan movies, you had Hagrid as well too. Like that actor was like
Yeah,
around for quite a while until they eventually killed him off in one of them. I can't remember which one.
yeah, they did.
Um, but yeah, like you do have these reoccurring characters that'll be really nice, and like I do like I think their version of Q is a bit too old timey in regards to like how
I
Q
agree with
was
that.
originally. Like I would
Yeah,
have liked a little bit of youth out of him, not as much as they did with the Daniel Craig stuff, but you like,
A
you
little
know,
bit younger than that, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
if Bond is supposed to jump ahead, say like he's been a double agent for a year in the next one, that just means
yeah,
Q gets older and older and older and older.
yeah.
And I'm wondering
Although
how
I
they play into that.
guess, although I guess there is that element of Q can be replaced, same as M can be replaced.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it'd be interesting to see what they do.
And I like how
But
they also announced that like Gemma Chan was in the movie and that she's literally
oh
like the
yeah,
one character just for the tactical sim thing and stuff like that, which is so stupid that when you get in there, you actually have to quit the game and go back into load the
yeah,
story mode to get out
yeah,
of. But the fact
yeah,
that she
because
was
it's
announced
yeah,
and then she's
it's
regulated to just like
yeah.
a spoken menu.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And I will say actually, that's the one element where I will criticize the game is that because they introduced the taxim stuff during the kind of tutorialized first few hours of the game.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, hey, come and speak to me after your training if you want to.
Yeah.
And you do, but then it takes you into the taxim stuff. But what they don't explain, and you should, like, yes, you cannot access taxim straight away from the main menu. So you should kind of, I get that technically it's there, that you should be able to just understand that it's a different mode. But the way they present it, as Jeff mentioned to me while he was playing, they should just have a door in that taxing room that can take you straight back out to the,
Yeah. And
you
even
know.
when you quit and go to MI6, it just takes you to that room and you still can't get out until you quit. And there was like, I literally had to go online. I'm like, how do you get out of the tactical sim? And it's like, press pause, go return the menu. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, that is so fucking
Yeah,
dumb.
you literally have to go out to the menu because it is a completely separate mode, essentially. It's a completely separate mode of the game. So I think I'll say the presentational aspect of that mode and the way they handle it, introducing it to you, is not good. They need to do better with that. I think they could potentially tweak something there to
Yeah,
fix
and
that
that's where
issue.
the replayability is going to come into a lot of like how people are
Absolutely.
still engaging with the game because they're going to continue to add to that stuff. Like all
Yeah.
the missions have those hitman type of things where
Yeah.
like do this, this, and this, and then
Yeah.
like if you go into
And
a mission,
that's
do something different.
also the taxing mode is also where the game will become more like Hitman because you're going to be redoing things to get scores on the leaderboard
I wonder if
and
they'll
all this kind of
allow
stuff.
player customization for creating modes like they do with Hitman.
Yeah, that would be really cool if they do actually. Like if they said, "Hey, you can go into a mission and set up your own goal or set up,"
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
Or if
That
they
would be
do
really
like
cool.
the elusive targets in the same way, whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of like hitmanisms that they could bring into this game that I don't think destroy it because like I think
Yeah.
like if they were doing where you were dressing up in the costumes and all that kind of stuff, that's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like again, it is a very very good game that I think is
Yeah.
just let down by
Yeah.
some things.
That's fair. That's fair. You have played something else here, which I'll bring up now. Tell me about this one, Jeff.
Yeah, sure. So this is Lumentale, Memories of Trey. So I'm a few hours into it right now. I'm about 3 hours into it. I think the game's about 11 hours long. And this is kind of like a Pokemon style game, but it's 4-on-4 battles. And you're not just taking your turns, you're essentially going through like um, um, an order list on the side, and that'll shake up after every single kind of turn that goes on there. Basically, you play as a character who has like amnesia, and he doesn't have his memories, and you kind of become a lumen, which is kind of like a Pokemon trainer. And essentially, you go around and try to discover your memories, but you end up getting kind of sucked into this world where there's like little monsters that you can kind of control, same as like with Pokemon. It's got like kind of the freedom to kind of go, kind of wherever you want to a certain extent. Like you can choose either to go north or south at the start, and the north is more technology based, the south is more um, um, I guess the past in regards to like their like they look to the past to progress the future. And it's got like the same kind of things that you would expect. Characters have weaknesses, characters have strengths. You basically will scan creatures to kind of determine those strengths or weaknesses. Um, but no, it does a very good job at kind of being a little bit different than Pokemon. Like you're not really throwing a ball, you're throwing this like little spinning disc thing, which can also be used to like break rocks or break barrels or whatever to progress and stuff like that. This is kind of like the first boss in the game, and then eventually you can get a Toxicole that's on your team. The one thing that's kind of neat is it seems that like when you have your evolutions, you have an evolution and then another evolution, and then that evolution can go into two different evolutions.
Oh, okay.
So that's
That's
kind of
interesting.
neat. Like I say, like we've had other ones like cassette beasts, which were really good
Yeah.
for like being a little bit different
Well,
than
well,
Pokemon.
that's actually one question I was gonna ask. When I saw this game, my immediate thing was like, this or cassette beasts, because you know.
Yeah, like I think both have their pros and cons. This one here, whenever you're in the cities and stuff like that, it does this thing where like it's the views like this, and then it'll turn a little bit so you can see
Oh,
more of
nice.
the town. But the problem is it does it almost like instead of a smooth
Oh,
motion. So
oh, okay.
it's really nauseating. And when you're going through the towns and stuff, everything's so blurry when you move. Like you see like these like shutterings around the doors and buildings and stuff. So like that part is really bad. I've also heard this game is very glitchy. I've experienced a glitch where I couldn't interact with any NPCs.
Oh, wow.
And then I found a workaround essentially that worked. Um, but it's got a kind of a neat little story of him trying to get his memories back. I don't understand why they allow you to name your character when it's literally called Memories of Trey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just named him Trey. Um, but yeah, like, and also like the one thing that's kind of dumb is that fountain that's back there. That's how you heal,
Okay.
but it doesn't show up on the mini map,
Oh, no.
which is sort of weird. I don't understand why they do that. But one thing that's kind of neat in this game is you have this little pocket dimension that you can use to like make your own little house or like a sanctuary for all the Animon that you're catching, which is pretty neat. And you can go to it at any time. It's like this like teleporting type of thing.
Nice.
But so far, it's been pretty good. It's got easy, medium, hard difficulties. So if you want to put this in front of a younger child who's maybe not as maybe Pokemon's a little too advanced for them, it does make it a little bit easier with how much damage you're doing and how much damage you're taking. But ultimately, so far, my first couple hours of the game has been pretty good. I think that there's a lot to enjoy here. If you're a Pokemon
Nice.
fan, I think the visuals look really kind of charming.
I do like the
Um,
visuals, yeah.
but yeah, like it is like considering that you can name your character, and considering the character's design is obviously impacted by the visuals, like in terms of like the art assets and stuff. I kind of
Yes.
wish that you
Yeah.
could have just made your character, but I don't know if that plays into some of the story and art assets later on, because there are these little flashback things that you have that kind of are slowly putting the pieces together.
Interesting.
um
Okay.
But no, it's a not a bad little game. Like I'm playing on Switch right now. There's no
Nice.
native Switch 2 version as far as I know. Um, but no, it's not a bad game. It's pretty decent so far. I've put
Good.
in probably about 3 or 4 hours of it so far. So
Nice. Nice. I'm glad to hear it. It looks interesting, it looks like the kind of game that I would play, so I'll definitely keep an eye out on your impressions as you play more of that one. And of course, we'll have a Bond review out at some point.
yeah, next
But
couple days.
what is our latest review on the site at the moment, Jeff?
Our latest review is Coffee Talk Tokyo. Rebecca's been a huge fan of the Coffee Talk series, so she jumped at the chance to try out Tokyo.
Nice.
She really liked it. She gave it a 9. And the last paragraph goes, Coffee Talk Tokyo is an amazing experience on the whole. The bright colors and collection of interesting characters invite you in. The many lives and stories that gravitate around the coffee shop are full of heart and expertly written. Like an expertly crafted book, I was invested from start to finish, and I look forward to what was going to happen every time the bell chimed when the door was opened. If you love to read, enjoy slices of life stories, or just need a comforting break from the stress outside, I implore you to give Coffee Talk Tokyo a chance, and maybe even the previous games. If you haven't already done so, you'll be glad you did.
Nice. Nice. I will link that below if I remember to do so, so that you can read the whole review to get a greater sense of what Rebecca thought of the game. But yeah, for now, I think that does it for this 90th episode of the
Are we
Gaming
doing
Next
the
podcast.
Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Game Show predictions?
Yeah, we could do. How many do you have is the question.
I don't have too many predictions. I was kind of going into this just kind of like blind. I wasn't too sure if we were going to run out of time or
Fair,
if we were going to make
fair.
it for the next one.
I have around 10 minutes here, so
Okay.
let's do some quick fire ones. I did sort of semi prepare. I
Okay.
have 3 predictions for each show, so I'll start us off, and we'll
Sure.
start off with Summer Games Fest because obviously it's coming up first. I believe that at Summer Games Fest we will get a new trailer and a release date for Onimusha from Capcom. I think just with the great stuff they've been doing lately, Pragmata was brilliant in my opinion. Really, really good game. I would be shocked if Onimusha doesn't show up here because we know that it's still coming this year. So that would really surprise me if it doesn't show up. My other prediction is that we'll get something from Kojima's OD, and I think that will be at Summer Games Fest. I don't think it will be at the Xbox game show. And then my third and final prediction for Summer Games Fest is that there won't be a one more thing. There won't be a surprise at the end of the show
You don't think Jeff's going to
like
kill
we
another
normally
game?
get. No, I don't. I don't think so. I don't think there will be one more thing. I
No.
think they might have learnt from that previously. But yeah, that's as far as Summer Games Fest goes. I'll get into Xbox in a minute. But what
Sure.
do you have for Summer Games Fest,
So,
Jeff?
Summer Game Fest, I think that we will probably get the first actual gameplay trailer for Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet.
Wow. Okay.
I
Wow.
think we'll get like an actual gameplay trailer. I think it will be a uncut slice of gameplay. I don't think it will be a traditional trailer. I
Oh
think
wow.
it will start her on her ship and then going out doing a little mission. I think it'll be probably like a 3 minute or 2 or 3 minute just uncut gameplay trailer for
Do you
that.
think we get a release date or window or anything like that?
Um, I mean, I think roughly it was going to be sometime mid 2027. So I think we'll just get the maybe the season. I think it'll say
Yeah,
like
maybe like
fall
a summer
2027.
2027 or fall 2027. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I think given the release dates and stuff like that, and that it's going to be out before the Game Awards show, I think we'll get a Grand Theft Auto gameplay trailer. I
Wow,
think
really?
I think we'll
Wow.
get something there as well too. Um, and then I think that you know maybe we might see that Dungeons and Dragons game.
Oh yes,
Um,
I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
fuck. Oh, I had it in my head too. Um, Warlock.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll probably get Warlock. We'll get a gameplay
Wow.
trailer for Warlock.
Wow. Jeff's going big with the Summer Games Fest predictions, everyone.
Yeah.
Now let's get on to the Xbox game showcase, because I think that this is actually the more interesting one, because we know a few things that are going to show up already, right? Like, we know Gears of War E-Day is there. It's getting its own presentation at the end as well. We know that Fable's going to be there. I'm going to make my big prediction isn't actually for an Xbox first party game. My big prediction is we will finally get the reveal, the proper reveal of Persona 6
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
during the Xbox Game Showcase. And I actually think that as part of this reveal, they will reveal that it's coming day one to Game Pass. I think it will
Yeah.
be their I think it will be their major third party day one to Game Pass announcement. I just think that's a really easy one for them. Like, they've had a good relationship with Sega over the last several years. Sega seem to like Xbox for whatever reason, and yeah, they seem to have a good partnership. Now here's one that's a bit different, and I'm more 50-50 on this, but this is another third party game, but it is a game that launched into Game Pass, and they credit Game Pass with lots of their success. I believe we might get word on an official expansion or DLC for Clair Obscur Expedition 33, because they have talked about wanting to do some sort of expansion for the game, and there's been rumors and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if, even if it's just an announcement, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something that's like, hey, we're going to get, there's going to be an expansion coming in 2027. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that. That wouldn't shock me at all. And then on the first party front, I think, and I'd be shocked if this doesn't happen, I think they have to show State of Decay 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that State of Decay 3 will get some sort of like 2027 window, whether that be a season or whether it be, whatever it is. But I do think they'll have to show State of Decay 3 again, and I think that will get a 2027 window. That's kind of where I am, because I would have originally predicted things like Call of Duty, etc. And I do think they're going to have bigger things in this show.
Yeah.
I just have no idea what they're going to have,
Well,
so it's...
I
Where are
think
you
that
with it?
obviously, I think we're going to get release dates for Halo Campaign Evolved. I think we're going to get release dates for Gears of War. I mean, it's obviously going to be around September.
Yes.
And then I think we'll probably see the Elite Series 3 controller. I think they'll show that off. And I think it'll be a big jump. I don't think it will just look like the 1 or 2. I think it'll be a completely revamped jump.
Okay.
I think they'll end the show actually with a full gameplay trailer of Blade.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I think that will be the one more thing.
You might be right, because Blade, if I remember correctly, when it was first announced, the window they put on it then was 2027. So
yeah, I think Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think this is the showcase that we'll see OD. I think that will be
okay. So you think OD will be? I went OD at Summer Games Fest because of Jeff Keighley, but that's fair. That's fair. I think either of those could be correct.
And 1 second here. Who published?
Just fact checking something before he makes his prediction. What is it gonna be? What is it gonna be?
I almost kind of retract it, but I think one thing that would be kind of insane is if we did get a trailer or an announcement for Death Stranding 2.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that obviously, yes, technically PlayStation did publish the game. What I would say is, where I sort of back you up on the possibility of that, is Kojima owns the IP. So because Kojima owns the IP, they technically can't stop him from going to a different publisher
Yeah,
to publish it on a different platform.
yeah, and I think so. The last two things that I think will show up here is we're going
Go
to
on.
get a proper gameplay reveal trailer, like big trailer for Clockwork Revolution. I think that is going
Oh
to show
yes, I
up.
completely forgot about that one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with
And
you.
then we will get a full gameplay trailer for Atomic Heart 2.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that would be neat. I look forward to Atomic Heart 2 because I remember when they first showed it, it looks quite different to the first game. So I'm excited to see that. I There is one other thing I was thinking of while we were sat here for the Xbox show. So give me a second because I just want to fact check something while I do this. Yeah, okay, so they haven't announced it yet. I know that some people are expecting this to show up in the PlayStation showcase, which is coming up on Tuesday in the PlayStation State of Play. But I actually think it might show up here because they like to show up in multiple places and they've shown up in different places with their previous games. I believe that at the Xbox showcase, we will get another trailer and the final release date reveal for Control Resonant
Hmm.
from Remedy. I think that just makes sense to me because they
That
showed
seems
it
like
off.
that seems like a Summer Game Fest thing for me, though.
You think so?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, and then the other one that I was potentially thinking of that again could be a Summer Games Fest thing, but I think might be an Xbox thing because of Xbox's recent connection to this studio. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another trailer and final release date for the Tomb Raider game that's coming
Hmm.
this year. Because I would imagine, if I was to guess, I would imagine that game's actually coming out this summer. I think it's closer than most
Well,
people
yeah,
think it
because you
is.
have the remake of the first one, which I think is the one that comes out this year, and then the other
Yes,
one comes out
that's
later.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with it being a remake of the first game, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a summer release because I
Oh,
think that's a good time for
Summer
that.
Game Fest. I think that we will get something for either the Witcher remake or Witcher 4.
Wow, okay. Wow.
Because we've seen The Witcher 4 running
We
on
have, yeah, we
PlayStation
have.
hardware.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that is true. That
Yeah.
is true. Wow, Jeff's going really big this year, everyone.
And
Let's hope
then
he's right.
and then I think we probably will see something for the Final Fantasy VII remake part 3.
I would imagine so. One game that I would like to see show up at one of these shows, and I actually think this one is more likely to show up at the PlayStation show on Tuesday, and that is Kenna again, the second Kenna game, because
Yeah,
that
the
yeah.
scope of that one compared to the first one, holy shit.
Yeah. And also, I can't remember, but I have a feeling they said that that was either this year or next year. So, given that that's relatively soon in the grand scheme of gaming, I just wouldn't be shocked if we see it again because, like you said, the scope of it and what they showed in that first trailer
Yeah.
made it seem like the game is maybe more ready than we realize. And
Yeah,
I'd
and I
love to
think
see more of it.
for because there's a PlayStation show you said coming up.
Yeah, on Tuesday, so in a couple of days' time, there's a
Okay.
PlayStation State of Play, but
What do
they
you think
are pushing it quite a lot. So,
what do you think the chances are we see the next Resident Evil project from Capcom? Because that other studio is working on a
oh,
remake.
oh God, yeah, maybe, but then saying that, like, yes, okay, Capcom does like to show. Capcom usually like to have something to show everywhere, right? They
Well, PlayStation
usually have.
has been a very dominating force for Capcom's marketing for the Resident Evil stuff. Um,
Yeah, so that wouldn't surprise me because, like I said, I think that Onimusha probably shows up at SGF. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do some sort of announcement of that, because if they are doing another remake as the next release, for example, that's probably coming early next year, since that's where they normally place those
Code
remakes.
Veronica is the rumor right now, the big rumor.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we do. I mean, we know that. So they have confirmed that Wolverine gameplay will be in the PlayStation State of Play. So we will see, and they specifically said it will be focused around combat. So we're going to see the combat gameplay for it.
Mhm.
Which I think, we had to, because it's coming out in September. So I look forward to seeing that. But we do know with the PlayStation show, rather interestingly, it is just over an hour long, which is quite long for a state of play.
That is very long for a state of play. Yeah. Oh, maybe they'll announce Destruction All Stars 2 because the first one did so good.
Oh God! Oh God!
Too soon?
Do you know what I will say? Actually, one game that I was going to mention that we mentioned earlier, and I think that's why it sort of slips out of my mind. At one of these shows, and I think Summer Games Fest is most likely, I would like to see Mortal Shell 2 again with the actual release date, because that's supposed to come this year. And I think that those kind of Souls-likey type of games always do well. So yeah, I'd like to see that. But it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great week. Obviously, we will have another podcast on Friday. So we'll talk about the PlayStation State of Play there, and we will sort of see what they've announced, what they've shown, and then we'll talk about Xbox when we can next, So, yeah, this has been a fun show, but I think for now, this is all we have for you on this 90th edition of the Gaming Mix podcast. Make sure you stay tuned to the channel, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check us out at analogstickgaming.com, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.